partnership to hit stateside. And despite what we have been anticipating, it's no Lumia 800, but it's definitely a solid phone for the market it's going after, which is a demographic made up of people who have not yet made the leap to the smartphone realm. So if you know of anybody who has a flip phone and uses it mostly for voice calls, this is a starter device for them. As you can see, it's what we think is a somewhat unassuming, uninspired design. It's basically designed to disappear into the hand. It's not something that you're going to be obsessing over for its looks, nor will anybody else be commenting on that either. However, it does share a lot of the same specs as its prettier sibling, the Lumia 800. You can see here there's the 3.7-inch screen. If we turn the device on here, you'll see it is of the clear black LCD variety. So it's not the clear black AMOLED of the Lumia 800, but you can see colors here are just as bright, and viewing angles are pretty good. There's a little bit of a washout. As you can see, we have a purple theme, and it goes slightly pink when you tilt the device, but other than that, the screen is definitely readable, especially outdoors. You can still see what's going on. So let's just take a little quick tour of the device. Here on the back, you can see there is this smooth, soft touch plastic that just encases the entire back of the device, and it makes for a really excellent fit in the hand. As well, you'll see there are these oddly tapered corners all around the device, and at first we wondered why Nokia would go with this design, but as you can see here, when you're holding the phone, your thumb rests just naturally right here, and it's very comfortable. Also, if you hold it in landscape, your fingers rest just comfortably over here as well. So the design is very ergonomic, even though it is largely forgettable. Up top, you can see there is a 5-megapixel camera module with the f2.2 lens and the single LED flash. There is your Nokia logo. And down here at the bottom, we have the large speaker grill, which is very powerful, and then it says Nokia 710. And then you can see there is a hole for a lanyard, or if you have one of those charm bracelets or dongles, whatever you want to call them, that are so popular in Japan, you can attach it to your device and fish it out of your bag. Over here you can see there is the volume rocker, which has a little bit of a texturing on it so you can feel it. And then right over here next to it is the dedicated camera key, which does not have any texturing and largely disappears into the seams of the device, making it hard to feel for as well as depress when you need to snap a shot or activate the camera module. Up on the top, you can see right there is the power button, which is slightly askew. It's not centered. It's uneven with the micro USB over here on the side, and then there's the 3.5mm headphone jack. Nothing takes up the side over here on the left except for the notch, which opens up the plastic casing on the back. We'll get to that in 1 second. And then we'll just show you down here at the bottom, we have nothing. Alright, so let's go ahead and pry this back off so you can get a look inside of the 710. And as you can see, there is no NFC embedded in the back casing here. And there's really not much else going on underneath the hood. You can see here's the 1,300 milliampere hour battery, and then there is the micro SIM slot. If you remove this, you won't see anything. There is no micro SD card slot for expandable storage. You have to make do with the 8 gigabytes of internal that come preloaded, but that shouldn't be too much of a problem, especially for the demo that this is targeted after. Alright, so let's take a look here at the front of the device. You can see up top there is the very small earpiece, the proximity sensor, and then once again Nokia's logo. And then down here at the bottom is the T-Mobile logo, and then above it is this soft click button that handles all of Windows Phone 7 navigation. It differs from a lot of the other Windows Phone Mango handsets in that it's not capacitive, and we actually we could do without this. Let's put it that way. There's a bit of a resistance when you press this soft click button. You have to press the left here, right here, and in the center for the menu. It's just too much, and if you're holding it in one hand and you have to use a little bit more force than you're used to, it tilts the device, whereas we're just used to simply gently tapping and accessing what we need. So let's go ahead and turn it on. As you can see here, this is the lock screen showing me that there's my voicemail, and I have 5 email messages. Also I have an alarm set. Let's get it back on. Okay. Just swipe it up, and there you go. Here is Mango's famous live tiles. So there is definitely bloatware on this device, but as we note in the review, it's not bloatware you'll really want to uninstall. Most of it is actually very useful. And the 1.4 gigahertz Qualcomm MSM 8255 processor that's powering this does a really excellent job at making sure your navigation through this main live tile screen and the accompanying app screen is just an absolute breeze. It's simply fluid. It's very responsive. You won't really have any problems. You'll see no lag, no stuttering, no freezing. Even when you launch an app, we'll go ahead and show you. You tap on messaging, pops right up, goes right back. We can even open up Twitter here. And, you know, we should note that we're deep inside a building here in Manhattan, so signal penetration isn't that great. That said, when we are outside, the HSPA plus 14.4 megabit per second network is definitely speedy enough. We've maxed out around 5 megabit per second down and just above 1 up, and never really had a problem. The coverage here in New York is pretty good. If you happen to be on the outskirts of T-Mobile's coverage area, you'll have a lot more to worry about. You'll probably default back to HSPA or, at worst, Edge. So let's take a look at some of the pre-installed apps that come on here. As you can see, we installed Bandwidth here to do the speed test, but some of the preloaded apps are ESPN, which is an exclusive. You have Xbox Live. Go down a little bit more, you can see Netflix comes on here pre-installed, as well as Nokia Drive and Nokia Maps. If you want to use Nokia Drive, you're going to have to download quite a bit of software. It takes a while, so be prepared for that. You'll probably need to use a Wi-Fi connection to do that. Then you have Microsoft Office, Telenav GPS, T-Mobile TV. We installed Twitter, and then the Weather Channel app. It's all uninstallable. The only one we found that we couldn't take off was Microsoft Office, but it's a very essential application, so why would you get rid of it? So let's take a look at web browsing on the Lumia 710. Here we are in the Internet Explorer browser that is native to Mango. And as you can see, we've loaded up Engadget's mobile site. And in most cases, these mobile formatted sites will load in under 5 seconds. But if we go ahead and try and bring up the full desktop, you'll see that even though we're inside this building, most of these full desktop pages will load in just about 20 seconds in their entirety. So you can see it's reasonably quick. It's nothing you'd get on HSPA plus 21 or 42 or even on 4G LTE on Verizon or AT&T, but it definitely does the job. And we'll just give you a little taste of pinch to zoom. As you can see, it's very fluid and it tracks our fingers reasonably well. You don't see any checkerboarding. There's none of those white spaces. It's very clear. So that's sort of the upside, and Internet Explorer here is a fairly simple browser to get used to on the phone, although there is no flash, so you won't have access to any of those web pages. And then we'll just give you a little look at the camera, which is the big sore point of this handset overall. There's really nothing that the 710 doesn't do well. It's not an excellent device, but it is definitely all around above average. However, this 5 megapixel module leaves a lot to be desired. As we mentioned before, it's really hard when you're out and about to access this camera button here that's dedicated. And then even when you need to sort of half press to focus, that's also very difficult to sort of work out. Autofocus was a particular problem. We would have to take shots over and over again to sort of get an acceptable one. But as you can see here, you can go through the different settings. Flicker resolution, you can set your resolution and downgrade it. Different focus, saturation, contrast. We have effects on here. You can set the ISO, white balance, and then of course you have your scenes. And we found ourselves toggling through this particular submenu to sort of get the right setting to take photos, because even when we were awash in direct sunlight, sometimes we still had to access backlight to get an acceptable shot. Macro is particularly good. Other than that, it's sort of a 50-50 crapshoot when taking photos. And then you can see here, if you tap, it'll switch to video recording. There is a 720p capture on here, and it was just the opposite of the camera module. Video recording was absolutely excellent on the device. Audio came across very crisp and clear. There was no distortion. Colors were excellent. They were vivid and bright, and you'll see in the sample video that the phone handled sort of navigating through bright sunlight and then sort of an overcast area very well. Although video image stabilization is a bit of an issue, and you can see that as well. But overall, the shots that we took, especially the acceptable ones, always evinced a bit of blurriness, and you'll see that when you click through the galleries. There really isn't that great of a depth of field on the camera. It does much better with close-up shots. As you can see, the macro here is particularly excellent. Zoom as well doesn't fare too well. There's a noticeable loss of detail. So if you're really looking to have a point-and-shooter, or you want to upload tons of photos to your Facebook and or Twitter, this is probably not going to be the handset for you. There are much more attractive options. That said, this is definitely a solid phone. It is not as exciting as the much more attractive looking Lumia 800. As you can see here, we have them side by side. Let's just get the screen on this one. So you can see the brightness on both is set to medium. You can see this is a much more attractive handset, but still, it's not yet available in the United States. You'd have to import it if you wanted to have it, and you can see here there's no soft click button. It's that capacitive. So for $50 on contract to T-Mobile, you can pick this guy up, or you can get its equally ranged HTC Radar 4G, which we like very much here at Engadget, which has a much more attractive design, although the display on this phone leaves a bit to be desired. It's not up to par with the clear black LCD, and it's subject to significantly more washout, and the viewing angles are pretty poor. But it's basically got the same internals as a 710. So if you're a Nokia fanboy or fangirl, and you've been dying to have one of the Nokia Mango handsets, you can go ahead and pick this one up, $50 on contract. It won't disappoint you, but if you need something beefier, you can always opt for the HTC Titan on AT&T, which has the same processor, just clocked 100 megahertz higher at 1.5. Or you can just hold out for the inevitable LTE Nokia Mango phones that are sure to hit US carriers pretty soon.